100-Step Cemetery. At midnight, if you walk up the stairs on the grassy side of the cemetery, there are graves dating back all the way to the 1860s. On one ways up, you count the stairs. When you reach the top, you must turn toward the open field, and the ghost of the cemetery's first undertaker will appear. Without saying anything, he will reveal the climber's own death to them in a vision. The hiker must proceed down the steps, counting them again. If they do not get the same number as they counted before, then they will die the way they saw. But if they do, the vision was wrong. If anyone dares to try to reach the top or level ground by not using the steps, they will be pushed to the ground by a phantom hand, which will leave a red imprint on the person's back for several days, so those who see it can see the mark of the devil. Another version goes that this Carpenter Cemetery lies just west of 340 and US 40 on CR 675. Locally, it's known better as the 100 Steps. Legend has it that on dark nights when you can't see your own hand in front of you, you can walk up the broken steps of this cemetery and count 100 steps. As you walk down, you only count 99. It's a hard trick to do when there are only 60 or so steps there any other time. The night must be total, and you must not be able to see where you step. Legend tells of those trying to walk beside the steps on the ground, and of people being knocked down hard with the handprint on their chest. The legend continues that if you are able to safely navigate the steps in the pitch of darkness and make that magical count, that the night before the rise of the sun, the spirit of the original caretaker will make known to you the manner of your death. And if you would like to visit this location, it's just off of 675 West, north of Brazil, Indiana. The Haunted Bridge. This haunted bridge, located in Avon, Indiana, has been around for generations. Different rumors abound, but in general, the people of Avon all have agreed that if you go near this old bridge at night, you will hear moaning, discontented ghosts, or you may even see 2 or 3 of them. And if you cross this bridge at night on a hot summer's day, it's possible to see the ghost's tears on it. It's said that a Henry Johnson, who was an alcoholic construction worker, slipped one night during the building of this bridge and fell into the wet cement, dying there on that lonely night. The following morning, he was found face frozen in the cement that killed him. There is a similar report of another construction worker who fell to his death during the making of the bridge, but instead he landed inside of the framework of one of the bridge's supports. The railroad decided that since the unfortunate laborer was already dead, they would just simply let his body within the bridge. When they sealed the support with cement, some say that the man's arm even hung out, and they just cut it off. Other Avon residents say that the ghosts on this haunted bridge belong to a young woman and her baby. The story is that she was walking to the doctor's house late one night with her very sick infant when she had the bad luck of getting her foot caught among the rail ties on the bridge. Then disaster struck in the form of a huge locomotive that was barreling down on them. She struggled with all her might, finally getting free of the railroad ties, but had no time to run across the bridge and escape the train. So, while clutching her sick child, she jumped off the bridge. She survived, but the baby, falling from her arms, did not. and within a few weeks the mother had died of grief and a broken heart. The story concludes that if you drive under the bridge at night, you might very well hear her screaming for her baby. Culbertson Mansion. Built in 1867 by William S. Culbertson, the mansion, which cost $120,000 to build at that time, is said to be haunted. Witnesses have heard doors shut by themselves and footsteps upstairs when there is no one up there. Its carriage house has a dark story attached to it as well. It burned down in 1888 due to a lightning strike, which killed everybody inside, and is said to be haunted by those who lost their lives that night. Clanging sounds, unpleasant smells, and a dark man's apparition were repeated occurrences in the 1900s, when the Webb family and Dr. Webb's office occupied that building. The hauntings continued until Dr. Webb began to lose his patients and his patients, too many of whom went missing. After a period of inactivity at the house, investigators from the local police found that the place had been abandoned, and Dr. Webb's family members violently murdered in every room. In the basement, they found Dr. Webb's torture chamber, where he had perpetuated unspeakable experiments on his patients. The house was boarded up for 30 years after this, until American Legion bought the property in 1940. It's still said to be haunted, with witnesses citing electrical problems, missing objects, strange noises after closing time, and dark shadow figures that walk from room to room. The carriage house is sometimes open for a haunted house during Halloween, if you're brave enough to go inside. Dogface Bridge. Back in the 1950s, a couple were driving over a bridge heading out on their honeymoon when a dog ran out in front of the couple and they swerved. They ended up drifting off the side of the bridge, still killing the dog. Now, there are two stories. One where both died, and then the male died. But either way, the woman's head and the dog's head were chopped off, and they were unable to find the woman's body and the dog's head. Now it's said if you walk down the path, there are two bridges. The first bridge is weak and very old. The second one is the one they crashed off. It isn't even there, yet you can see the cement sidings from where it once stood. Supposedly, when you go down the path, you will see the body of the woman, wearing the dog's head. If you do not beat her off the first bridge and back to your car, she will kill you by supposedly eating you alive. There have been rumors of bodies found and people being shot at. As you walk, you can hear strange animals snorting and howls. While the entire area is made of swamp, and it is known for a fact that wolves and coyotes do not go near swampy areas. If you're interested on getting a glimpse of Dogface yourself, this bridge is located on 1100 West, just north of 500 South in San Pierre, Indiana. Bloody Mary Wales. Old Man Wales was an evil man who loved money more than anything in the world, except for his wife. In his lust for wealth, he supplemented his farm income by catching runaway slaves who were escaping to freedom through Indiana. Wales would chain up the ex-slaves in his barn cellar until he can collect the reward on them. When he couldn't find slaves, he'd capture free men and sell them into slavery. When the Civil War ended slavery, it was a disaster for Mr. Wales, who no longer had a profitable source of income to supplement his farm work. And then his beloved wife died during childbirth. Overnight, Wales fell to pieces. He hated the child, a little girl named Mary, that had killed his wife. He neglected her, dressing her in rags, making her do all the farm chores, and half-starving her. In spite of this cruel treatment, Mary had grown into a very sweet girl who loved her evil father. As Mary reached adulthood, the resemblance to her dead mother was striking. Wales saw his dead wife every time he would look at his daughter who had caused her death. One night, after a heavy bout of drinking, Wales lumbered into Mary's bedroom and stabbed her repeatedly. Mary awoke, screaming, and thrashed around in agony, trying to fight off her demonic father as blood spouted everywhere, and bits of torn flesh littered the bedclothes and fell to the floor. When she was dead, Old Man Wales carried her down to the basement, dug an indifferent grave, and tossed her body into it. 2 nights later, when the old man came back from doing his nightly chores, he found Mary standing in the kitchen, her nearly severed head lolling against one of her shoulders as she stirred an empty kettle. A pool of blood lay beneath her feet, and bits of skin from her knife-slashed face were breaking off and falling into the kettle. "Father," Bloody Mary hissed. Wales screamed and leapt out the kitchen door. When he glanced over his shoulder, the apparition was gone. 1 week later, Old Man Wales looked up from reading the newspaper to find Bloody Mary sitting in the chair opposite to him, her knife-slashed dress covered in blood. Her tattered hands were busy knitting him a shirt. "Father," she hissed through knife-sored lips. Blood fell from her body like rain as she flew across the room towards him. Knitting needles held like knives. Old Man Wales fled from the house in a panic, with 2 deep cuts scored across his back. He cowered in the barn for several days, afraid to go near his house. After nearly a week of sleeping in the hay and eating raw food from the garden, he decided it was safe to return to his house, that the spirit must be gone by now. He hurried into the kitchen, eager for a wash and shave after sleeping so many nights in the barn. He pumped an ewer of water and took it over to the shaving mirror they kept on the far wall. When he looked in the mirror, he saw glowing red eyes and a knife-scorn face that belonged to Bloody Mary. Her once fair lips were split down the center, and blood dripped from them as she smiled evilly. "Father," she hissed. Raising blood-stained fingers, her nails were long and sharpened like claws of a beast. She reached out the mirror and slapped her father twice across the face. Old Man Wales screamed, blood streaming from 4 slashes on his cheek. He ran from the house and leapt into the safety of the barn, his heart pounding so hard in his chest it ached. "Father," a voice hissed softly a few paces to his right. Wales screamed and whirled around Bloody Mary standing there smiling at him through blood-stained razor-sharp teeth. Her tattered tongue was bleeding from several places as if it had been scorned by a butcher's knife. She pointed above her head, and Old Man Wales saw a noose hanging from the rafters beside the ladder of the loft. The rope looked inviting, hanging there in a dust-speckled sunbeam. Obediently, Old Man Wales placed his hands on the rung of the ladder and started to climb. I hope you ghouls enjoyed these Indiana urban legends. Indiana, you got some good urban legends. Honestly, if I saw like the dog face or whatever, that lady with like a dog head, I would freak out just because it's creepy. Ugh, no thank you. And the Bloody Mary urban legend from Indiana is creepy AF. Like, those of you who live in Indiana, have you heard Bloody Mary told in that way? Because I never heard it that way, and it is honestly very frightening. But, yeah. Question of the day. Are you enjoying your summer so far? So far, my summer's going pretty okay. It's not, like, the best, but it's not the worst either. I'm quite enjoying my summer, and I hope you ghouls are enjoying your summer as well. Those of you who are in the summer months right now, anyway. But as always, ghouls, the last video will be on the top left. The next video will be on the bottom left. All my social media is on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.